Welcome to this course on digital communication, and the course code is ECPC 61, and it is a 3 credit course, and this is the first lecture, introduction to the course. So in this course we are going to primarily be working with digital communication. So let me give the course outline that I already discussed. Okay, so one possible course outline as follows. So let us start with the introduction to the course. Why do we need a digital communication? And then since you have not done anything on pulse code modulation and delta modulation, let us start with A to D conversion techniques, analog to digital conversion techniques. Okay, and this A to D conversion techniques will include delta modulation and then pulse code modulation, and then some variant of this delta modulation and pulse code modulations. Okay, so the A to D conversion technique, but you don't know this A to D conversion techniques in the context of communication. So we will do the A to D conversion techniques, and that will include this delta modulation and pulse code modulation, where PCM stands for pulse code modulation and DM stands for delta modulation. And after discussing the basic principles of pulse code modulation and delta modulation, we will look into some of the associated problems of transmission of these kinds of signals, particularly some advantages like time division multiplexing, TDM. So you must have done frequency division multiplexing in the context of analog communications. So let's also discuss the concepts like line coding. So this is very important, associated with the transmission of digital information, because we know the information is represented in terms of ones and zeros, right? Now these all are abstract concept. Now as a communication engineer, we need to know how to represent these ones and zeros in terms of voltages and currents, because we always talk one and zeros in terms of voltages and currents. How do you represent in terms of waveforms? So that will be something is called line coding. Okay, next we will take up digital communication. In digital communications can be done in 2 ways. One is in baseband form. So I will tell you what do we mean by baseband form and passband form as we go along the course. So there are 2 methods we can do digital communication. Okay, one is the baseband form and the other is in the modulated form, or I can call modulated form. Okay, so just like analog communication is done in the modulated form, the digital communication can also be done in both the ways. Okay, so depending on the kind of channel that you are working with. Okay, in analog communication we did only using passband form, that is modulated form, and here you can do both in the baseband form and modulated form. When you have wideband channel on which baseband signals can be supported, or whether you have a radio channel in which you must embed the information onto a carrier, in which case you have to do some kind of modulation again. So first we will take up the techniques of baseband digital communication, and then later on we will move on to passband form. So baseband digital communication techniques which involve a number of concepts. So let us look at a few concepts here. So this baseband form depends upon what kind of pulse shapes that you are going to use, and the concept of inter-symbol interference that arises due to band limitation on a channel. I will elaborate the pulse shape and inter-symbol interference, everything as we go along the course. Since this introduction to the course, I am giving only outline of the concepts. Then inter-symbol interference, ISI. Okay, this ISI occurs due to the band limitation on a channel. So we will also see how to take care of these such a problems if you have band limited channels. Okay, and then we will go into this passband form or modulated form. Okay, so in that digital, various modulation concepts will come and we will discuss all those things. And then we will talk about information theory little bit. Okay, so we will spend some time on information theory, and then we will spend some time on error control codes. Error control codes, and if time permits we will also discuss something related to spread spectrum modulation. Again, there are two types of spread spectrum modulation that we will discuss. Okay, so this broadly covers the main topics that we deal with in this course. Okay, in case if we do have time, then we will spend some time on other aspects like digital switching. Digital switching is used to connect many users to each others for talking to each other or communicating with each other. So digital switching takes care of modern electronic exchanges. Digital switching takes care of modern exchanges to some extent. I'm not sure whether we will have the time to do it, but if time permits we will just spend some time on digital switching, at least a brief review of digital switching. Okay, so this digital switching occurs in data networks and computer communication networks. Although we usually have elective course on these topics separately later on in the curriculum, if time permits we will see a little bit about this digital switching. Okay, so that's all about the course outline that we are going to deal with in this course. Now let me start with a brief advantage of digital communication. Okay, why digital communications? Now if you look at the various communication systems that exist today in the country and abroad, most of the places we can see digital communication. Okay, but these digital communications, this digital communication is you can see everywhere, but in the initial days our communication started with analog. So it was analog in nature, and because of some historical reasons, most of the earliest form of communications evolved in the form of analog communication. So the transition occurred in the year of roughly 1980s to 1995. In this period the transition happened from analog to digital. So some rapid changes occurred after 1995. Okay, even initially the cellular system also was an analog in nature. But the other thing that you will notice if you look at these communication systems that exist today are purely digital. So here and there you can see very few analog communications. So these analog systems are rapidly replaced by digital communication systems, very rapidly in fact. Okay, so the changes happened over a decade, like 10 years or over a period of 15 years. So most of the communication systems that you are going to come across at present are purely digital communication systems. Okay, so this transition occurred roughly in the year of 1980 to 1995. So these communication systems are broadly classified into 4 categories. Just for the convenience purpose or some illustration purpose, I divided the communication systems into 4 categories. Okay, the first one is cable system. And the second one is terrestrial microwave system. Okay, so and this cable system, you are very familiar about this. Okay, so this is used to communicate from one place to another place over a cable. And the second type is, as I said, terrestrial microwave systems, and I'm sure you are familiar with these two types of systems. You must have seen microwave towers sprouting all over the countryside, which link one place to another through microwave channel. And the third one is satellite systems. Okay, and the fourth one is fiber optic systems. So these are very common knowledge kind of thing. Okay, so I'm sure all of you quite familiar with these systems. So we have 4 kinds of system. Now each of these kinds of systems is in the fraction of analog part and digital part. So in the earlier days, the cable systems, terrestrial systems all are started with an analog part, and slowly we change it to digital part. As far as the cable system is concerned, well, you will find that more the things have come down a little, because cable systems are being rapidly replaced by other kinds of systems, because laying cables are very expensive affairs and very cumbersome affairs. So cable systems in general, both in the analog form and in the digital form, have come down in the recent days, and this is a scenario occurred all over the world. So coming to the terrestrial microwave system, the analog part has come down quite significantly, and the digital part has correspondingly gone up. Similarly for satellite systems, and similarly for fiber optic systems. So, and this is going to continue in the future also. So it is going to be much more pronounced in these days, where a lot of communication systems are being established by digital communication system. Okay, so this is a rough idea of how the digital communication system has taken place. So there is a very rapid change from analog to digital, and digital communication is going to be our futuristic technique of communication, and mostly we will be using digital communications. Now one should ask a question: why this replacement of analog communication techniques or systems by digital communication system? What is the reason to replace the existing analog communication system replaced by digital communication system? So there are many advantages. That is the reason we replaced the analog communication system by digital communication system. So I will just list down a few of these, a few of advantages. So the first advantage is rugged. First of all, they are believed, I mean, the digital communication is believed to be really rugged. What I mean by this is that digital communication system in general are more immune to noise and channel distortions. Okay, so the reason why they are more immune is the fact that there is a regeneration along the path. So I'll explain about regeneration. Now, what do I mean by regeneration? I believe that you are familiar with the fact that digital communication takes place in the form of ones and zeros. Okay, so transmission of ones and zeros. So transmission of discrete symbols, discrete level of information, right? So information is represented somehow in a discrete form. So we will go through how this is represented in terms of discrete form as we go along. But now let us assume that these ones and zeros are represented by a discrete waveforms. Now as the signal which contains information about ones and zeros propagate along the channel or any kind of channel. Okay. Let's say it is a 10 kilometer length channel. So when the discrete information propagates through the channel, then the signal is distorted by some kind of impairments. So they undergo some kind of distortion due to the various non-ideal effects that are present in the channel. So this is my transmitter part and this is the receiver part. Okay, also the channel has some other kind of noise, especially thermal noise and other kinds of noise. So the signal which you are transmitting collects a lot of thermal noise and other kinds of noise. These noises are produced along the path and within the communication system, within the transmitter as well as the receiver. So the noise is getting added in the transmitter, also getting added in the channel and also added within the receiver itself. Therefore, by the time the signal comes back to you, I mean at the receiver, it comes to the other side. First of all, the signal is very weak. Why is it weak? Because it has to propagate over a long distance. Okay, so because of that, the signal will be weak. Secondly, it has undergone these changes because of the distortion. Okay, so which contains noise and distortion. So signal is changed due to noise and distortion. This is the signal, the received signal is weak because of the attenuation. With the result, the received SNR is very poor. It implies received SNR. That means what? The SNR at the receiver is very poor. And it is a very difficult to decode the information correctly if the SNR is very poor. So you cannot decode. The noise part will take over the signal part. Now to overcome this drawback, this received a low SNR or poor SNR, what we do is we put a repeater. See, this is your transmitter. You take a channel and here you put a repeater. Maybe every 10 kilometers you put one repeater. This is my receiver. So what is the purpose of this repeater? What you can do with this repeater is you can at least amplify the signal along the path. You tap the signal in this point and amplify it. Okay, so you tap the signal somewhere along the path, amplify it and transmit it. And now you can ask me a question. If you do this kind of repeater, this kind of amplification in between the transmitter and receiver, will it help us to improve the signal to noise ratio? Obviously the answer is no. Why? Because the repeater not only amplifies the signal part but also amplifies the noise part and distortion part. Okay, therefore the repeater will not help us as far as noise and distortion are concerned. It will certainly help as to increase your received signal power because you are re-amplifying it and retransmitting it along the way, but it will not help the SNR because the signal noise and the noise and the distortion will also amplified with the same proportion. Okay, let's say here signal part is 1 milliwatt and noise is 0.1 millivolt, let's say millivolt. Now if you amplify 100 times, then at the output of the repeater you will get 100 millivolts and this one will be 10 millivolts, right? Therefore equal ratio it is amplified, so it will not help us to improve the signal to noise ratio. Okay, so it is not going to help you to decode the information correctly very well. So what you have to do is somehow while you are doing the reamplification, you try to remove the noise part as much as possible. Okay, so fortunately that is possible in digital communication. Okay, so at the point of repeater regeneration, what is called regenerative repetition, not only you are able to amplify the signal, but also you are able to take away noise and distortion. So this type of function is done by your repeater. Okay, this noise and distortion are introduced by the channel. Okay, so this is my first leg, second leg and third leg and so on and so forth. So whatever the noise occurs in the first leg, that will be eliminated by this repeater. So whatever the noise is introduced by the second leg of your transmission, that will be removed by the second repeater and so on and so forth. Therefore at the receiver you will not see the distortion and noise over the entire communication path. So that is the main advantage of your digital communication. Therefore between the transmitter and the first repeater, this is my first repeater or the ith repeater and I plus 1th repeater. Okay, so you remove the distortion and noise. So whatever noise was introduced by the channel and whatever the distortion was introduced by the channel, everything will be removed by the repeater. Okay, so you are able to take it away and retransmit a clean signal. Therefore the advantage of your repeater is to transmit a clean signal. Okay, therefore a repeated transmission of clean signals takes place, and that is why this really brings in the advantage in a digital communication system. You get ultimately noise and distortion not for the entire propagation path, the whole path, okay, but only for a small segment of the propagation path. And that small segment, it's very easy to remove, and again you can clean it off. So Clean off is very easy in digital communication. It's a easy process. So that is the reason why digital communication systems are primarily having all the major advantages. So in addition to this major advantages, we also have other advantages. Some of them are as follows. So digital communications are more flexible. Okay, so they are more flexible, particularly from the point of view of hardware implementation. It's very easy to implement. It is possible to exploit the tremendous amount of technical advancements that take place in the VLSI. Okay, when you do particularly digital communication as compared to you do analog communication. So it is much more easier to exploit these advantages if you do things typically in the digital communication form rather than analog domain. So that is the flexibility aspect. And the fourth advantage is channel coding and coding for privacy. Okay, so when we do digital communication, we can also do all kinds of coding of information, and this is just not possible in analog domain, or not at least easily possible in the analog domain. Okay, so even you can do this kind of channel coding or some other coding for privacy in analog domain also, but that is not that much easy. But in digital communication, very comfortably you can do that. So one type of coding that is particularly relevant here to talk about is called a channel coding. So we can do this channel coding to combat or take care of whatever little effect the noise may still produce for you can be taken care of through this kind of coding. Okay, and you can also do coding for high fidelity. Okay, so fidelity means the quality of being accurate. So it produces very accurate signal at the receiver than analog signal. Okay, and you can do the coding for privacy, especially for military communications. Okay, so all these things are possible in the digital domain. Okay, well, it is not that these things are entirely impossible in analog domain, but they are much more difficult to achieve and are not as effective as in the digital context. Okay, also coding can be done for other uses, like as I said, privacy. And the next advantage is multiplexing. Multiplexing is easier. Okay, it is easier and more efficient to multiplex digital signals than it is to multiplex analog signals. So multiplexing is also easier. So I will elaborate this point about multiplexing when we talk about multiplexing. And the next advantage is, finally, in a nutshell, what I would like to say is that ultimately what is important is the transmission of information in a correct and a reliable manner. Okay, therefore the digital communications are more efficient than analog systems. So inherently, naturally more efficient than analog systems. In terms of signal to noise ratio and bandwidth trade-off. So So trade-off. Okay, so usually the resource that we use to do for digital communication or analog communication is the bandwidth. So bandwidth is very important resource. So the most important communication resource is the bandwidth. The higher the bandwidth you have, the higher the rate or bit rate. Okay, so at which the information can be transmitted on a channel with a higher data rate. So after all, when you want to transmit the information, we need a basic resources. What are the basic resources? Your bandwidth and power. Anyway, power we will not talk about now, but let us concentrate only on bandwidth. Okay, therefore the basic resource that we need is the bandwidth. If you want to transmit a lot of information at a very fast rate, then you need more bandwidth. That is one aspect, right? So if you want to transmit a lot of information at a very fast rate, then you need more bandwidth. The other aspect is that we need it to be done reliably. Okay, even though you are doing at very high rate, but the important point is we need to do it in a reliable manner. That means what? There should be very less number of errors. And the question arises is, can one thing be traded off with the another? Can I trade off the bandwidth and reliability? Okay, and the usual answer is yes. We can trade off bandwidth with the performance. Reliable means performance. Okay, very less amount of error. Okay, so we can get better performances provided that we are ready to give more bandwidth. In other words, if you have less bandwidth, maybe you will not get as good performance. So this is the cost that you have to typically pay in communication system. So the question that arises is, what are the good ways of trading off? Because one can trade off in a bad way or one can trade off in a good way. You can do this kind of trade off also in analog communication. For example, you are familiar with AM and FM situation. In analog communication, FM has superior performance. FM has superior performance compared to noise as compared to AM. But FM takes up much more bandwidth to do so. Okay, so compared to AM, FM takes much more bandwidth, roughly 200 kilohertz more bandwidth, and this one will be roughly 10 kilohertz. So that is the kind of trade-off between the performance and bandwidth. So which is a major communication resource. Bandwidth is the major communication resource. So the same kind of trade-off is going to take place in digital communication also. Now fortunately, again, digital communication scores over analog communication in the sense that this trade-off is more effective. Okay, so the trade-off between the bandwidth and performance is very good in digital communication than that of analog communication. So you can trade off bandwidth versus noise performance more effectively by using proper techniques. So digital communication is inherently more efficient than analog systems in SNR bandwidth trade-offs. Okay, so I believe that these 6 advantages would convince you enough about the usefulness of digital communication, and also as to why they are being more popular in real life than analog communication systems these days. So with this, let me stop at this point. In the next lecture, we will discuss delta modulation. Okay, that is analog to digital conversion techniques in the context of communication systems. So let me stop at this point. Thank you very much.